Heart and Soul. Daniel Gordon travels to Poland with two Jewish pilgrims as they visit the grave of the great Hasidic leader, Rabbi Elimelech.
Crammed inside a small mausoleum are hundreds of Jews. It's a sea of wide-brimmed hats and black frock coats. Outside in the cold, thousands more are pushing to get in. For one day every year, the small town of Leszczyńsk in southeast Poland plays host to plane loads of Orthodox Jews from around the world. They're here to pray at the grave of the 18th century Rabbi Elimelech Weissblum, hoping for health, wealth, and even the odd miracle.
It's just something to light up the spirit, to light up your soul, and to fuel. It's a refueling of the spirit, a refueling of your soul until the next time you need to fill up.
I think that there is no doubt that on this world, on this planet, there are places more powerful than other. And I do believe that this place in Poland, Leszczyńsk, is one of this list of places with special qualities.
Jewish holy sites in Jerusalem and elsewhere in the Middle East have attracted pilgrims since ancient times. But visiting the graves of religious leaders from Eastern Europe is a far more modern phenomenon. Rabbi Elimelech helped popularize Hasidic Judaism more than 200 years ago and was renowned for his mystical powers. Now, each year on the anniversary of his death, his grave is becoming increasingly popular as the focus of Jewish prayers and a reconnection with the past. The rabbi's life and sayings, and especially his love for dancing, are even celebrated in song. On Heart and Soul, I'll be following two pilgrims as they prepare for their journey, England to Poland and back in a day, all for just a moment at the graveside. And I'll be asking what such a trip means to them and their faith.
Hello, my name is Yossi Fachler. I'm 43, I'm married to Sarah, have two lovely daughters. I'm an ultra-Orthodox Jew living in the non-Orthodox world. And therefore, I'm very excited because in a few days' time, I shall be taking my annual pilgrimage to Leszczyńsk.
What makes you want to, early on a Sunday morning, get up and go to what I imagine is going to be a freezing corner of Poland for 24 hours?
You don't really think of the journey. It's the place, the getting there. As you will see when we get there, that is a real throwback to pre-war Europe. It's a traveling in time back to where ultra-Orthodoxy was the norm. And you will see that me, even though I will have my hat on and my dark suit, because I haven't got a beard, I will look very much in the minority compared to most of the tens of thousands of pilgrims who will be there. And wherever you look, there'll be little pockets of men praying, sitting down, eating together, dancing together. That sort of atmosphere, which you have only seen in films which try to recreate it, this doesn't try to recreate it. This is the life it was beforehand. And as you will experience with me, we'll be traveling along roads on either side, just forests. This is how the Jews used to travel. It's a whole new world for us, but it's the old world that I'm going back to.
And you've been how many times now?
I think this is my 6th or 7th consecutive time. Because of the event, the occasion, the people, the smell, the atmosphere, the everything is so unique. You look forward to it.
That tablet that the doctor prescribed for your gums, don't drink any alcohol.
No, I don't drink
any kind of
no.
alcohol, and drink a lot of water.
This year, Yossi's taking with him his friend Rafi Mizul, who's never been to Lizensk before. Rafi is a chemist who was born in Italy, but came to England 2 years ago with his Belgian wife. He describes himself as a practicing Orthodox Jew. He's fascinated by Hasidism, a branch of Judaism that promotes spirituality and Jewish mysticism. Although, like Yossi, he doesn't follow its dress code.
If I don't have the curls around my ears, it's only because I was grow up and lived in Italy for all my life, and then I moved there. It's a custom. It's not that something that you need to do. But I'm saying that even if I don't have the certain appearance that you should expect from a Hasid, I feel that I'm a Hasid inside. I bring my book. This is the Talmud with the Hebrew translation. So when I'm here and I have a bit of time in between customer or when I see that it's a bit quiet, I like to open and to read.
And you rest it here on...
In between the Tenolol and the aspirin, I have my book.
Resting on an advert for thrush medicine.
Yeah.
What do you think the ancient rabbis would make of that,
I don't
Rafi?
know. I have no idea. Sometimes it's better to not ask questions.
Just as Rafi studies Jewish texts at work, at home he has another book he reveres, the Naum Elimelech. This was the rabbi's great work, his commentary on the Torah, and it's one of the principal works of Hasidism. Rabbi Elimelech was celebrated as a miracle worker during his lifetime, and to this day his book is believed to be imbued with mysterious powers.
A lot of people believe that the book has inner power. Many stories about people that they got help from the book for distress situation or sickness situation. And there is a custom to put the book under a pillow of someone that is to go under a surgery. And for my personal experience, I can testify that my wife, she was in labor, and the midwife was worried about the baby, that he was a bit stressed. And I put the book under the pillow, and in 8 minutes, my son came to this world, completely healthy and full of joy and a blessing from God.
8 minutes after you put the book under her pillow?
8 minutes after I put the book under the pillow. While the midwife told my wife that she will come in 2 hours to check what the condition is. And I named the baby Elimelech after the Noam Elimelech, a way to thank the Noam Elimelech.
In just a few days' time, you're going to be making this trip to Poland, to the grave of Rabbi Elimelech.
Lately, I started thinking how I will feel on this trip. I think that I will feel like I finally can meet personally an old friend.
Do you think it's going to change you, this journey that we're making?
I don't think that it will change me, but it will inspire me to change. Inspire me in a way that I will try to make myself a better person, and I will try to make the surround that I live a better surround for me, for my family, for my kids, for my friends.
Miracle working is part of the traditional role of a Hasidic leader. Most of them were reputed to be able to speak prophetically, to see into the future, to see into the past, to read people's innermost secret thoughts.
Professor Ada Rappaport Albert is the head of the Department of Hebrew and Jewish Studies at University College London. She says that in the 18th century, Rabbi Elimelech was celebrated as a tzaddik, a righteous one, who acted as a mediator between God and the faithful. And like other charismatic leaders, he was expected not only to look after spiritual needs, but physical and social ones too.
The power to perform such miraculous feats as healing the sick, reviving the dead even in some cases, guaranteeing success to a business enterprise, or averting decrees. This is a common theme: an expulsion, confiscation of property, appropriation of a child to be educated as a Christian, you know, the kind of afflictions that mar Jewish experience in Eastern Europe in the early modern period. The Hasidic leaders were reputed to have the power of averting them, to effect change in the physical world by means of their mystical prayer, and people did flock to them.
And now people have started flocking to them again. It's hard to know precisely, But estimates of the numbers who visit the tomb of Rabbi Elimelech on the anniversary of his death run into the tens of thousands. Specially chartered flights bring devotees from around the world to this tiny corner of Poland. To spend just a few hours at his graveside, Yossi and Rafi are up at the crack of dawn.
Good morning, everyone. It's 7 o'clock on a very crisp Sunday morning. It's -2 degrees outside with bitter cold, clear blue sky. But we're going to -6 or -10, so maybe it's a very good way to prepare us for the weather.
You know, Yossi,
Yes.
I update my Facebook account
Go on.
that I'm going to Lizensk. And if anybody wanted me to pray for any reason, they should email to me a private message. I have a list of 33 people.
Well, this was the next thing. I just send a blanket SMS to every one of my recipients. And I just say, I'm in Lizensk, please send me names for people who need health matters, financial matters, whatever.
2 centuries ago, Jews who visited Rabbi Elimelech's tomb would have written notes to leave at his graveside, as is still the practice at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. But now the trappings of modern life, texts and Facebook, are all part of the pilgrimage experience. This journey to his tomb has had a fractured history, the flow of devotees disrupted first by urbanization and a changing society, but most dramatically by the Holocaust. For 21st century believers, making this trip is also an act of reclaiming their heritage.
Thousands of people go to visit his tomb as a holy place, but this is not a continuation of tradition. This is a new tradition, a newly invented tradition for people who had been really estranged from that authentic Eastern European world for 2, 3, 4 generations, perhaps even more. And of course the Holocaust is another break which gives the whole thing a new dimension. Nowadays the act of going on pilgrimage to these places in Eastern Europe where Judaism and Jews were eradicated has a new and very powerful kind of exciting dimension, particularly since it was inaccessible for so long during the Soviet period. That is a completely new aspect of the experience.
Now we boarded the plane, and the PA system is periodically hijacked by some of those travelling to Lizensk telling stories about Rabbi Elimelech in Yiddish. Is that right?
It is. We just heard a very interesting story from a rabbi who is coming to Lizensk all the way from America via London about Rabbi Elimelech. He once fell very far down a hill and he was covered in blood. Blood was pouring everywhere. In those days he didn't have first aid, stitches, these things, so all his followers were trying to give advice of how to stop the blood. Some said stuff it with sugar, some said straw. Rabbi Elimelech looked up and said, straw? Straw is going to stop blood, and he started laughing. And they all started laughing. And he told them from that when times are tough and you're in pain, be it physical pain, spiritual pain, laughter, smiling and showing happiness will always bide you in good times, whatever happens.
An airborne choir behind us, Yossi.
I told you, they break into dance, they break into song, they're getting into the zone.
You sent off your mass text message. How many replies have you had?
Up until now, we have received well over 130 minutes.
The flight from London lands in a former military airstrip on the edge of the small town of Rzeszów.